You are watching KSL 5. This is an Eyewitness News special report.
Good afternoon, I'm Bruce Lindsay. Typically, we act as observers in bringing you the news. This afternoon, we find ourselves part of the news because an hour and a half ago, gunshots were fired, people injured here at our KSL headquarters. We have only recently been allowed back inside the building to bring you this newscast, or as much of it as we can, but what we know at the moment is this. A suspect, described as a middle-aged woman, was arrested after police evacuated our building and searched it from floor to floor. At least 2 people were shot, some others were fired upon. One man, our building manager, was injured and is in satisfactory condition. Another victim was taken to the hospital. News specialist Nadine Wimmer is live outside with more details for us. Jeannie.
Bruce, let me paint the scenario for you. We were in the office working on our stories this afternoon when a receptionist came running into the newsroom frantically.
But they're still searching for answers.
Right. Most of what I'm able to tell you now is from radio traffic, and again I have to preface it by saying that the radio traffic sounded genuine to me. It is my impression that we have our suspect in custody, but I wasn't standing there, and I don't know exactly the facts of what happened, but I believe we have a suspect in custody and the situation at this point is stable.
We went up to the second floor to go to make sure everyone on the second floor got out because they hadn't made an announcement in the building, and she saw me through one of the windows in the doors and took 3 shots, and I decided it was not a very fun place to be anymore.
Just heard from one of the witnesses who was inside and saw the woman with the gun, and she apparently shot at him, and she was banging on the doors of the KSL newsroom, but no one would let her in. We do not know why she wanted to talk to a reporter. We don't know what her problem was, but they've let everyone back into KSL. They have evacuated the building, and they've been out here for a couple of hours, and we're debriefing some of the witnesses, but that's all we know right now. We do know that a woman is in custody for the shooting. Back to you.
And we're sure it's a woman. We've heard conflicting reports up to the last 5 minutes that it was maybe a man with long hair.
Well, I just asked the Salt Lake City Police Department, and the person is a woman.
Okay, thanks much. Elizabeth Danheim reporting from downtown Salt Lake.
KSL News reporter and anchor Nadine Wimmer talked with 2 News shortly after all this happened. She says everybody was just working in the newsroom on deadline when the receptionist ran in and screamed for everybody to get out.
At that point, when everyone was trying to just get their reaction and find out what was going on, you could hear shots going off in the lobby, pop, pop, pop. And as we were all getting up to leave, you could hear the person rattling our door, trying to get in the door. It's locked, but they were trying to shoot or rattle the door to get in. At that point, we all ran out.
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of terror and confusion at the Triad Center this afternoon. Now, Michael Rawson joins us live at the Triad Center. And, Michael, you have...
Go to Deanie Wimmer now, Deanie.
All right, Shannon, yeah, they mentioned earlier, it's very strange to be part of a news story. We report on these kind of things. We see these kind of things often. And it was a frightening experience to be able to hear those gunshots popping off in your lobby. And we were running down stairwells trying to figure out where should we get out of the building. We made sure that somebody had called 911. And we ran down and started alerting other people in the basement of the building. I believe now we have some sound now from another witness. All right. Let's go back to Bruce in the studio. He has a witness there. Bruce?
Thank you, Nadine. And I can tell you, since you talked about the pop, pop, pop that you heard, I don't know that you've had a chance to get back in the building. The entryway to our newsroom lobby is filled with shattered glass. Evidently, this person shot through the window a number of times in her effort to gain entry, and the large lobby of KSL at Triad number 5 is marked with crime scene indicators on bullet marks. There are, look like at least 20 of them out there, and so, yes.
Woman, about in her 50s, is in custody. Mark?
Michael, it's amazing, actually terrifying. It seems like there were a lot of people that this woman could have taken shots at.
Handgun.
Now, we should point out that Brent Whiteman, our building manager, whom we all know and feel very fondly toward, we believe he's in good enough shape that he got up and ran after this woman was out of the area.
Right,
so
yeah.
We're relieved to be able to report that. Here are some pictures, as you see. It was very, very quick response time, as I can attest. I came out that very stairwell, and as soon as I was on 3rd West, we saw police officers arriving first on bicycle, then heard the sirens, and they converged very, very rapidly. When you have a person inside a downtown office building, 8 floors with many businesses, That can be a very volatile situation, and we can tell you as eyewitnesses that Salt Lake City Police responded very, very quickly. Dan, thanks. Would you stick around for a minute? We may need to get back to you. We're flying by the seat of our pants here and playing this by ear. Let's check in with Shannon Ogden now, who is in the newsroom, who has some more information that we're able to put our fingers on. Shannon?
What happened. This is according to Colleen, our receptionist in the front part of the broadcast house lobby. She said the woman came in, she had a hood on. It was also wearing what she describes as shooting type earmuffs, the big ear guards. And the receptionist commented to her that it was awfully warm for those earmuffs. And that's when the woman turned to her and demanded that she be let into the newsroom. I want in the newsroom, she said. Colleen, the receptionist, said, no, that's not going to happen. Again, she demanded she be in there. She said that if you don't let me in, I'll kill you as well as the person in the newsroom who she was coming after. That's when she began waving the handgun around, and Mary Kammeyer, who you heard from earlier, that's when the shots were fired there. So at least we have a clear picture of the woman's, I don't know, attitude, at least right now. Let's go to Deanie Wimmer. Deanie, what do you have?
Shannon, outside of the Triad here is still a crime scene in progress. The road is still blocked off, at least around the Triad Center, with police tape. As you may have heard earlier from Bruce Lindsay, our lobby is actually a crime scene with broken glass and the bullet markings around the room. Here it is obviously a different scene, a much calmer scene than it was earlier. When they evacuated us to the Delta Center, you could see swarms of police officers with their guns drawn, running around the building, crouched behind the pillars. We were told, quite a while ago that they had the suspect in custody, but this is still blocked off. Police cars, as you can see, and emergency vehicles in the way. We were going to toss to break now. We'll bring you more news and wrap up what we can from here. But this is Nadine Wimmer reporting live. We'll come back for more.
At least 2 people have been injured. We believe their injuries not to be life-threatening. We'll give you more information on this story, and we find ourselves very much in the middle of it as we're able to do so. And I would again remind you, we were just allowed back into this building a very short while ago.
What you're about to see, I believe, is video of the woman I just described. This is her being taken out of the Triad Center on a stretcher and rushed to LDS Hospital. Again, we have been told she's a 30-year-old female. She's been shot in the head, described in extremely critical condition. She's going into surgery right now. We'll update you on her condition in just a moment. All right, that's it from here. Let's go to Deanie Wimmer. Deanie?
All right, Shannon, for those of you maybe just joining us, at KSL, we had a very frightening experience. The receptionist out in the main lobby. You can, outside here is still a crime scene, but inside you can see that there is shards of glass broken all over. There are bullets and numbers that they have been using to document the crime scene. And police are still investigating, obviously, how many shots were fired exactly and any motives.
News 4 Utah at 5:30.
And I thought, if I let this individual in the newsroom, we're going to have a massacre.
Breaking news in downtown Salt Lake City. A shooter barges into KSL and starts shooting.
2 people are injured and the suspect is in custody. And that shooting is our top story tonight.
It started at about 3:15 this afternoon at Broadcast House. That's in the Triad Center. Downtown at about 55 North and 300 West. Information is still slowly trickling in.
News 4 Utah's Paul Murphy joins us now live from the scene with the latest. Paul?
Kim, let me tell you about some terrifying moments here at the Triad Center. As you mentioned, a hooded woman came into KSL and started making demands and then started firing. Witnesses say the woman yelled, "Newsroom, newsroom," and started firing at the door leading into the KSL newsroom. KSL employees called 911 and then scattered away from the building. The woman then shot at a KSL employee several times, grazing him in the shoulder. Then she went up the stairs to the 4th floor where she fired and hit a female AT&T employee. KSL employee Mary Kammeyer was able to divert the shooter away from the newsroom and, as she said, away from a massacre.
I had no idea what was going on, but over the individual's shoulder, I saw our receptionist, and her face was utter terror, and I thought, okay. And the individual immediately spun around, pointed a gun in my face.
Understanding that this person was trying to shoot the lock off the door to the newsroom, and we went out the back door. and down into Anatomy Academy, which is in the basement of our building. Shortly after that, SWAT team members with rifles said, "Run, run, run," to the Delta Center.
Now, as it stands right now, 3rd West is still closed. There's still scores of police cars and emergency vehicles here, but the suspect is in custody. She was taken into custody without shots being fired. SWAT teams are still going all around through the building. They've been going up and down the building trying to make sure that this place is secure. Back to you.
Paul, any details? What can we say about those who were wounded by the shooter?
Come again?
What can we say about those that were wounded by the shooter? Do we have information? We understand one woman was shot in the head. She's up at LDS right now.
The information, we've had conflicting information. Over the scanner, we heard once that she was shot in the head. Another report said that she was shot in the chest. A person who saw her being carried away said that she had blood coming from her neck and she was wearing a neck brace. The other person that was shot, a KSL employee, was shot at several times but only grazed in the shoulder, and he appeared to be doing all right.
Okay, Paul, thank you so much.
Nisha DeGaring has also been talking with other witnesses down at the Triad Center about the shooting.
Nisha, what are they saying right now?
And since this started, I have been walking around talking to the people evacuated from the Triad Center. As you can imagine, they were clustered in little groups, everyone talking about what happened. There is a huge range of emotions from the people standing and talking around here. Emotions ranging from, I was in the building next door, I looked out the window and saw police with guns, to, I thought it was a movie being filmed, it didn't seem real, to, a coworker told me my friend had been shot.
At first, I thought they were talking video. We have so many video and film crews out here shooting movies all the time. I just thought, oh, okay, well, maybe, you know, Roma Downey's back. They're shooting another episode of Touch by an Angel. I didn't really know that they meant bullets.
I was just walking down to the 4th floor to make some copies, and as I walked down, I went to talk to somebody about a report I needed, and 2 of my coworkers waved me out, and as I was walking out, somebody told me we had one of our co-workers been shot, and just to leave. And so I left, and here we are. It's pretty scary.
A couple of our co-workers were like, you know, there's a woman in the building with a gun. Someone's been shot. You know, we went out in the hallway and looked down, but we couldn't really see anything, and then the SWAT team was down there, and the police, and then they told us to just stay on our floor and they were going to evacuate.
So as you can hear, a huge range of emotions from the people that were evacuated today. They heard everything from the gunshots to saw the SWAT teams. Everyone's saying it was scary, it was terrifying, and the scariest part of all, the biggest question here today is why? Brent and Kim.
And that is a question that remains at this hour unanswered. Thank you very much, Nisha.
Recapping our top story, 2 people are injured after a gunman starts shooting at KSL. 1 woman was shot in the head. She is in very critical condition in surgery right now. The suspect is in custody.
There's other news to tell you about tonight. There is a new Olympic winter sport. It is called...
Well, witnesses say the woman was out to get a TV reporter from KSL. Police aren't saying much about who or why, but tonight we have some more information about what happened. SWAT teams surround KSL television after a woman packing a pistol and carrying a grocery bag full of bullets blasts her way in.
Apparently shots were fired.
Somewhere in the conversation, a bullet was fired. I felt it land next to my foot, and that was when I knew the gun was real.
She reached down in her jacket and pulled out a gun and pointed it at me.
2 people
As we were all getting up to leave,
fighting for her life right now. Good evening, I'm Dick Norris.
And I'm Ruth.
And disarmed her.
We're extremely fortunate that more people were not injured. If it hadn't been for his action, we feel confident there would have been.
Also, while on that 4th floor, police say the woman's gun jammed, so that probably helped in her being disarmed when that AT&T worker tackled her. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, Liz. Now, shots were fired on several floors in the building today, and police are still trying to tie up some loose ends when it comes to collecting evidence, but the building will be open for regular business tomorrow. The street in front
door, the suspect ran to the elevators and went to the 2nd and 4th floors, apparently shooting indiscriminately all the while.
The first reaction, it did not seem real at all. It felt like I was just part of a play, part of a movie. And then, you know, seeing the barrel of that gun, the barrel of the gun looked quite large, pointed at me.
Through most of the shooting spree, the bullets ran wild, hitting walls and carpets, but the woman was carrying a lot of ammunition, and as many as 2 rounds may have been fired.
Easy to see it could have been a lot worse. All right, Ed, thank you so much.
Because of all that, police say it's fortunate, actually, that only 2 of the employees in the Triad Center who happened to cross the gunwoman's path were shot. Our team coverage continues now. Karen Scullen's been looking into the suspect's background. But first, news specialist Nadine Wimmer is live at LDS Hospital with the latest on the shooting victims. Deanie, one of them was hurt very badly.
That's right, Ruth, and surgeons are now working and have been for most of...
As you can see, a huge range of emotions here at the Triad Center today. But the scariest question for employees seems to have not yet been answered. Why the shooting? Why here? Brent and Kimberly?
That is the big question. What was the motive? Thank you very much, Nisha.
So, wrapping up our top story, a gunman enters the Triad Center and demands to talk to a KSL reporter. When she doesn't get what she wants, she opens fire. 2 people were injured, 1 critically. The suspect was taken into custody a short time later.
Tonight, the president...
Shut, and I went running down the hall screaming, gunman in the lobby.
And then we heard rattling of the door to the newsroom. It has a very secure lock on it. But there was rattling, and then I've never heard a gunshot fired before. Pop, pop, pop. It doesn't sound like what you think it's going to sound like.
It's kind of scary. I mean, you know, we've all been on your side reporting these things, but when you hear someone's in your building with a gun and we heard shots had been fired, it gets a little scary.
And I heard boom, 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 and I heard all this stuff spraying through the room that runs between the newsroom and the lobby. And I thought, wow, this is for real, so we all got evacuated right away.
I had just a momentary thought as the police officer said run to the Delta Center. It's sort of an out-of-body experience, very strange. Yes, okay, I have to run, but I never imagined this in my life.
For Carol Makita and other KSL News people, they can truly tell victims of shootings that they interview from now on, we know how you feel. Michelle?
Very frightening. And some unusual cooperation today between the news stations as well.
There certainly was. Now, you know, Michelle, this is a very competitive business, but tonight, for a few hours, the barriers were down. All of us reporters from different stations, different newspapers felt compassion and commiseration for our KSL colleagues. It even extended to the point of we shot some videotape that we were proud of, and we gave it to KSL because their employees were pinned down, fleeing for their lives. The sort of cooperation that you don't see in this business.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And today's shooting will undoubtedly prompt all television stations to take a closer look at their security precautions.
Well, gunman in the lobby, I've been shot at, call 911, and everyone responded.
The other hero in this, Mary, I think is Colleen, the receptionist. How was she handling this?
When I talked to her, she said she was trying to calm the suspect down and dissuade her, and I don't know how long it had gone on, but she said at that point I came through the door the opposite direction.
Did she point the gun at the receptionist?
Oh, yes.
Colleen
When
and say,
I came
give me the
through,
news?
she had the gun pointed at Colleen, and this is Colleen.
Yeah, there's Colleen.
And just a
Glad that
remarkable
she's all
woman.
right. Ever had anything like this happen before? I can answer that for you. No.
No.
And have you been debriefed by police? I trust you have.
yes.
They've taken your statement.
Yes, they have.
All right.
The gun person evidently went from the first floor then to the second floor.
And more out about today's shooting online. You can read an eyewitness account on our webpage. That's at KSL.com.